earlier, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation, care of Alma Angeles, was able to talk to His Excellency Ambassador Rafael Harpaz, and where he discussed Israeli-Philippines expanding relations. He also talked about his last courtesy call visit to the Iglesia Ni Cristo's Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, and commended the Church worldwide aid to humanity. Please watch this.
A very warm welcome to our Ambassador, His Excellency, Ambassador Rafael Harpaz. Thank you, sir, for allowing us to interview you today. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. I just returned from the holy city of Jerusalem, spending time in Israel, and I feel at home in Jerusalem, and I feel at home in Manila. So I'm happy to be back.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad you're safe, sir, sound and safe on your journey. How was your trip? Can you tell us how is it traveling now? How was your trip from Israel to Manila?
Quite a challenge. First, you need to take many more flights than before because there are less flights. Flights are pretty empty. Airports, I passed through Paris, Amsterdam. It's Naia, Ben Gurion Airport in Israel. Pretty empty, from what you remember. New procedures at flights, people with masks. It's the new normal, and I don't see it changing in the very near future. So it's a challenge, but life is so strong, and you need to, as what we do here in Manila, you need to move forward. And we are now, next Friday is the Jewish New Year's. So I'm looking what happened from last September to this. Nobody could imagine we'll be in this situation worldwide. But we should be optimists. If you're a believer, you should be optimist. And I believe that better days will come. Flying is a challenge, and the airlines is a major challenge. The tourism industries all over the world are challenging. But hopefully we'll get a vaccine. And until we'll get a vaccine, we should just stay safe, sound, and healthy, and especially follow the instructions of the health authorities.
How is the embassy and its operation now, Mr. Ambassador? Have you gone back to a 100% physical office work, or is it still a percentage still working?
The embassy was functioning from the beginning, from middle of March, when the closure was imposed here in Manila. We were always functioning in some kind of skeleton for a while, but we work full-fledged. And we keep a very strict protocol about that people won't be infected, both our guests or our consular services. So it's a new reality. We need to learn to work from a distance, and I think we didn't compromise at all at giving our services, which is the most important thing.
Yes, that's true. And how has the Israeli-Philippine relations affected by this pandemic?
Well, our relations is stronger than any pandemic, and actually, I'm very glad that Israel was willing to share first our experience in technologies that can help and assist in combating the COVID-19, whether it's fighting fake news or identifying the virus. Or by the assistance we gave already an assistance to your health, to your first responders at the Philippine National Police and the Philippine Armed Forces. This week we gave a donation of a kit of test kits for Corona, 50,000 through your ambassador in Israel. We gave equipment to the Department of Education, which is very important to help with distance learning. And we are exploring now more possibilities to give our help and technologies. And we are thinking already, the day after will come and how we can move forward with our usual relations. It's true that we can't have high-level visits now because this is the period, but now we see how it's important to have the presence on the ground, on the ground, and I'm happy, Alma, to inform you that Israel is expanding dramatically its presence in the Philippines in the coming weeks.
I know that Israel has been helping the Philippines a lot in the area of not only with the with the pandemic, but also in technology. As we all know, that Israel is known as the land of innovations and startups. Can you expound more on this, sir, and on how the Israel has helped Philippines in this way?
Yeah. First of all, as I mentioned, we're expanding our presence here, which is days when governments are shrinking their budgets. We open our defense attaché office here, and we are opening next month our economic and trade office for the first time here in Manila, and we're opening an honorary consulate in Mindanao. In addition, Philippines is also helping Israel during this pandemic, and I will explain you how. There are 30,000 Filipinos in Israel living and working with us and taking care of our elderly people, especially now during COVID, when people have the social distance and elderly people should stay home and they are very lonely. Who is with them? It's the Filipinos caregiver, and I want to thank all of you, all of the families of the Filipinos, from Mindanao to Luzon to the Visayas, from Baguio to Lawag to Iloilo to Manila to Cebu, all of you in the barangays that have your families and friends there, thank you very much, because this is the time of need. When grandparents can't see their grandchildren because of the pandemic, who will take care of them? It's the 30,000 Filipinos. Mm-hmm. Coming to your questions about technologies, well, Israel is also at the forefront, Israeli technologies, of looking for a vaccine and technologies of fast testing of material. A lot is in the pipeline. I know there is a feeling of doing things bilis, but when it comes to this, it has to be a bit in a pace. And all the technologies that we have, we are more than willing to share with the Philippines. Israel is also struggling with the virus, and there's actually a significant, big second wave in Israel. We did the best almost in first wave, and then we thought it's over, and now it's back a big time. What we are doing very well, we have our number of deaths is very, very low comparing to relatively low, and people in critical situation. By the way, I see the numbers. I'm encouraged from what I see in the Philippines. They say, touch wood, flattening the curve while opening the economy. We have the same dilemma of the economy, and I think we need to let the economy move forward. But it's a challenge. In the Philippines, we work on everything, whatever we can do.
Mm-hmm. You talked about the Filipinos in Israel and how they're helping Israelis as well there. Can you tell me how big is the Filipino community in Israel, and is it a combination of blue-collar workers, or is that industry work sector Filipino mostly?
Well, there are approximately 30,000 Filipinos in Israel right now. All of them are working as caregivers for elderly people at the residence. We were just in April, we were due to open Israel for the first time to Filipinos to work in tourism, and actually here, PUEA already started to recruit 1,000 Filipinos for the first time, and then came the COVID. So let's hope it will come back soon. We had many Filipinos tourists in Israel. Now tourism is not functioning, but it will come back. Both ways, by the way, because you asked me how the embassy functioned. We were very busy at the beginning to take Israeli tourists.
Yes.
Out from the Philippines back to Israel. What I see at the last month, that Israeli businessmen are decided, listen, we have COVID, but we need to come back to do business. And I see some of them returning to the Philippines or want to return to the Philippines, because the economy has to move. So we are thankful for the Filipinos in Israel. We are thankful, and the moment COVID will be over and we go back, I invite all of you to come back to Israel. Hopefully we'll have the direct flights. We're almost there, by the way.
Yes. So we can use our visa-free.
When it comes back, sure. Visa-free is there and it's going to stay. And hopefully there will be direct flights. Hopefully we can go back to it. Hopefully.
Okay, Mr. Ambassador, I'd like to ask about education. The COVID-19 health crisis has given the world's education arena, let's say, a jolt. Schools, academic institutions, and development training centers around the globe have been continually adjusting and learning from the new experience of teaching and reaching out. So how is Israel working things out when it comes to this field?
Yeah, well, distance learning and e-learning, Israel is excelling in this. And actually, some of the Israeli technologies were offered here to your government already because of the decision not to have a face-to-face school for the coming months. Still in Israel, it's true that most families and pupils have an access to internet at their homes and has computers, PC. But again, a family that has 4 or 5 children, you need all 5 of them to have their own PC to do it. So it's a challenge. And the school system, school started in Israel on September 1st. So we saw immediately that one of the major places that the children get sick is in school. Either from the teachers, and then you need to put the classes in quarantine. So they did it in capsules, but it's a major challenge. Another major challenge, Philippines, which is 110 million citizens and schools which are very, very dense. It's another challenge. We are actually at least giving another small donation to 2 schools here in the Philippines about sanitation material, whatever. The day that you can come back to school, it's not going to be the same because sanitation will be very, very important. Distance learning will be very important. And we know that distance learning can't compensate fully for direct front studying. It's not the same, especially for the young generations. That they need, concentration at home. It puts a lot of burden on the parents. We know it. So, and they need to go to work. So how do you compensate? So it's a major challenge. I can tell you that the Israeli children that are in Manila, in addition to going to schools here, they study in a virtual, all year long, without connection to Corona. They study Hebrew and Bible and other things in an Israeli school. They do it in e-learning. So we do it, and it's something you need to have you need to have the equipment, you need to have the good internet access, good Wi-Fi at your residence. It's part of it. But I think that this major crisis, it's also an opportunity to do things a bit different.
Yes, true. Are there any best practices which the world or the Philippines can learn from Israel in coping with the different educational setups, especially during this pandemic?
Major challenge, and actually we are learning while moving forward. Every day we learn new things. My son is studying at the university in Israel, and how can you conduct a test in the university while he's at home? How can you conduct it? To do, and that's what they're doing. He's studying engineering, so you need to do. You can't compensate on having a laboratory. You can't do it from a distance. So it's capsules. And it's a lot of discipline when it comes to the purple badge. This is first, and doing a new curriculum for studying. It's going to be totally different. On the other hand, it gives you access to people that didn't have an access to education, to give them more access to education. So it's a major challenge, and I think it's a bit premature to see what are the ramifications for the long run. There is a major psychological element of this crisis. People, and I know people here in the Philippines and in Israel that has been at their homes since February or March. It hardly goes out because they're afraid to get it. So what is the price that children are paying for not going to school or not seeing their classmates and friends, or hardly can see their grandparents? What is family is the heart of the Filipino community. The same for Israel. Major challenges. We have, as I mentioned, the Jewish high holidays is coming, our Jewish New Year, and it's the big family gathering for us. And now they are discussing about having a closure because we know that inside the families, that's where you get contaminations. Inside it's a circle. You go to work, you go to a family dinner, 20 people, and then you see 20 people are infected. Major challenge, not easy. And we need to support our elderly people. Very, very important.
Very true. There were new, recently, diplomatic developments in the last weeks, which will spur possible business and development opportunities. And I'm talking, I used to know between United Arab Emirates and Israel. Can you expound more on this?
What a great news it is. Next week or next Tuesday, we are going to sign our bilateral agreement with the Emirates. We never had a formal relations with the United Arab Emirates. Israel has a peace treaty and diplomatic relations with Egypt, with Jordan, and we talk with many other countries. But the fact that we have this now in public, and it's not under the table, that we have these good relations with this very important country, which is a strategic partner for the Philippines, with hundreds of thousands of Filipinos living and working at the Emirates, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. It's a great news for the world. And the first thing we are discussing with them is cooperation on health issues, on in research, on development. Very important, very positive development for the world. And we are very, very happy with these developments. And hopefully there will be a few others that will join. But it's a new reality and a new, certain new Middle East, I would say, in many, many terms. The moderate countries, the countries that are peace-loving, the countries that puts history behind and look towards the future, I think those that have a brighter future. And we have a lot of admirations to the achievements of the Emirates. And Israelis are lining up the moment we're going to fly and to enjoy the other way around, to visit, for them to come to Israel. And I know, and we already are exploring what we can do after Corona, trilateral cooperations, because I just thinking about, you fly Manila, Dubai, Tel Aviv. It's so easy, you cut the, so, and our gratitude to the Americans, which are, the administration is very helpful in facilitating. So at the White House, there will be a ceremony on Tuesday with Prime Minister Netanyahu. As far as I understood, the Foreign Minister of the Emirates will sign this agreement, which is really another piece of history, important piece.
The health ministers of Israel and the United Arab Emirates spoke by telephone also to discuss cooperation in the fight against COVID-19. And the two ministers discussed ways to strengthen cooperation in the medical field related to the pandemic. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's great news, and a lot they did. It's for what I learned about this great country, they really made a major achievements. And channeling their wealth to education, to research, to health, to social welfare. And with Israel know-how and their know-how, I think we can do many things together. And we're looking for cooperation in so many areas. And it's great news. It's really, when we're all busy with the COVID-19, suddenly came this wonderful news, which makes us very, very happy.
I just read in the news that Israel has a 2-week nation lockdown.
Yeah, Israel will. Well, it's the government has to decide, but because we have a major challenge, the numbers are going up. We know it because it's open. I was in Israel. You go to Tel Aviv, restaurants are full. You go to the beach, full. I went to the Galilee, it's full. Oh, wow. And the numbers are up, and we are entering to a period of the high Jewish holidays. This is time when people get together. And by the way, it's in Europe, I see the numbers are also going up. So this is a challenge. So the best way to do it, we'll do sometime during the holidays, not yet a decision. The Jewish New Year's is next Friday night. So they are discussing about it's all on the table, that proposal, and a big debate in Israel, by the way, including synagogues. How many people, it's time when people go to the synagogue, even not religious people, goes at the high holidays to see, and how do you do? By the way, the same here, you have limitations on the number of people that can attend a church or a synagogue or a mosque. So it's a big debate. It's open because we are a very, very thriving democracy. And it's a major challenge. We knew, and then you don't have a winter like in Europe and Europe. The winter is coming. At the beginning, they say, if it's hot weather, warm, maybe the virus will be dead. Well, it seems to me that's not the case. Now they say because in winter they're afraid of a spike all over the countries which are in the northern hemisphere. And then there is the usual flu that comes. So we'll see. Let's hope that they are wrong. But what we have learned with this virus that we don't know. We don't know. The uncertainty is there. But you can't stop living, you can't stop working. And I see the Philippines has been exactly 6 months in this. And I see it a lot of resilience, despite, the big challenge and the burden and the terrible people lost their beloved ones, almost 4,000 people here. And the heart goes to the families of them. Life is so strong. And I think it's very, very important that the economy is moving.
The Philippines this is also a celebration of 2 years. Has it been since
exactly. September 2018.
Yes, since the president visited Israel. And can you please tell us more about this and how has it been since that visit?
Amazing. I was a new ambassador, and what an honor, what a pleasure it was to me, for myself, to be the official escort of President Duterte and the big Filipino delegation to really historic visit to Israel. We received him with open hearts. He represents a great nation. I attended these meetings always with Prime Minister Netanyahu, with President Rivlin, with the private sector, the visit to the Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Institute, the visit to the monument of President Quezon in Israel, his meeting with the Filipino OFWs, which was unbelievable how they received it in Israel. And since then, our goal as a government, or my role as an ambassador, was to implement the achievements. And since then, the relationships are thriving, despite the COVID. And we reach so many things. And for us, the first impact is this growth of Israel presence here in the Philippines and the interest that the Philippines is drawing. Coronavirus stopped some of the things that were in the pipelines, but I hope it will come back soon, so we can have more OFWs in Israel, we can have more Filipino tourists in Israel, we can have more Israeli tourists here. I see in the Facebook groups how Israelis are yearning to go back to Boracay, to Bohol, to Palawan, to Banawe, to Sagada. I see it, all of them. When is it open? Everybody are asking. So they come back, and the Israeli private sector is okay. And again, we are there, and I know the Filipinos the same. All of them then that wants to go to the Holy Land to renew their vows, very popular in others. We saw a spike, 35,000 Filipinos visited Israel in 2019, and the expectations were to have much higher numbers when the direct flights will come. So a lot of good things. We are working very closely on counterterrorism, another issue. And again, our condolences for the terrible terror attack in Sulu 2 weeks ago. Terrible attack. We condemn it, and we stand by the Philippines at those difficult days. So it's very, very important to enhance the cooperation on many other areas, and relations were never better as now.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Also, I just read up that Filipinos in Israel, the DFA also noted that 39 of the 46 Filipinos in Israel who were suffering from COVID had already recovered and had been discharged from hospitals and quarantine facilities there. Philippine Embassy assured that the Filipinos with COVID would also receive help from the
Philippines. They get a full medical treatment in Israel, full medical insurance, and we treat them like we treat ourselves. They are our brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Also, earlier you mentioned that when you were here in the Philippines, you got to visit our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo Manalo. Can you tell us more about this and the developments ever since? Yes.
My good friend, Brother Eddie, I would say, is a great inspiration for all of us. I recall our discussion and how he told me about his visits to Jerusalem and to Israel, how close he is to the state of Israel. I'm traveling, I've been all over the Philippines, all over. And I saw the endeavors of Iglesia Ni Cristo. I've been to your museum, the old museum. Now I understood there is a new museum, so I'm looking forward to come and visit it in Quezon City. And I see what you are doing, especially now during the crisis since March, and I'm aware of what you do for social welfare, supporting the poor people, the people that need. God bless you for what you are doing. It's an inspiration for all of us, and I wish him, Brother Red and Iglesia, many more years of this excellent activities. Many of my friends here are members of Iglesia, and they tell me how important it is for their well-being, for their feeling of giving, donating, assisting, and helping. And God bless you all. God bless you.
Ambassador, would you like to have any last message for our viewers who are watching you right now?
Well, we are now at the eve of the Jewish New Year's. And at the eve of the Jewish New Year's, we also we put our wishes, what we hope for the next year. And my wish is first for the Philippines, for our people in Israel, people in the Philippines, to be safe, healthy. And I'm sure that the next year will be, when it comes to health issues, will be better. We need to believe it's tough times, but we all stand together fighting this challenge. And I assure you that it will get better and better. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much.
Thank you.